morning, and welcome to this special presentation from Florida Friendly Landscaping, caring for your lawn when it's hot and dry. It has been pretty hot and dry lately. It is May in Central Florida, and that is one of our hot, dry periods during the normal cycle of a year. And we have been getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of people worried about how to properly use their irrigation system and how to keep their lawn thriving. So we are presenting this special pre-recorded version to kind of help you get along with your lawn during the hot and dry season. I am Lilly Browning. I work for Hernando County Utilities in water conservation, and my program is Florida Friendly Landscaping. These are the 9 principles of Florida Friendly Landscaping, and we're going to cover number 2 quite a bit today, water efficiently, but of course, all of these principles work together to have a very sustainable lawn and a sustainable landscape. Here in Hernando County, here are our watering days. These watering restrictions have been in place for about 10 years. This is nothing new, nor is it going away. It is not a special reaction to the dry times. These are our year-long watering restrictions. We are under 1 day a week watering restrictions. If you follow the water drops here, you can tell if your address ends in 1, then your day to water to use your irrigation system on your lawn would be Monday, and so on down the line. There's also times that are important that you know. You are allowed to water before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m. That's a very important word there, that very small word, or. That's not an and. You're not allowed to water both of those times. You have to pick one of those times. Florida Friendly Landscaping has a preference as to which of those times we would like you to pick, and we will get into that further in the program. Now, what seems to be surprising a lot of people is these rules do apply to everyone in Hernando County, even if you have a private well. That also is not something new. That has been in place since we've had these watering restrictions. And the reason that we do that, of course, is because we are all drawing water from the same place. We are all getting it from our groundwater, from our aquifer. If you're wondering where this rule comes from, the Southwest Florida Water Management District, in their year-round water conservation measures, state right here, these water restrictions apply to all users, including end users served by public or private water systems. And also, if you're wondering, if you look on the Southwest Florida Water Management District's website, it talks about 2 days a week watering. It also very clearly states that your community might have higher standards. So it says here, any board or executive director order that is more restrictive than a water conservation measure contained in this chapter shall supersede the water conservation measure for the duration of the applicable order, which is still going on. So Hernando County is listed on their website as one of many counties and municipalities that are under 1 day a week watering. And the municipal order, if it is more strict, it supersedes the district order. So I mentioned the aquifer. Where do we get our water in Florida? Some may get it from a reservoir, but almost all of us get it from the groundwater. It's called the Floridan aquifer, not Floridian, but the Floridan aquifer. And if you see in this graphic at the top, it covers all of Florida and beyond into Georgia, even South Carolina, Alabama, and Mississippi. It is not one big tube that's under the ground. It is a system of caves and almost like natural aqueducts, and there's different layers. So as you can see from this graphic, if this were Jim's house here, There's nothing blocking off walls under the aquifer to say that is Jim's water and only Jim's water. It does not work that way in the state of Florida. Everybody and nobody owns the water. And so we all have to work together to make sure that we have enough. I always call the aquifer kind of like our water savings bank. It is the absolute best place to store water. It's the most cost effective, and it is the best environmentally to store our water. So we want to protect it as long as we can. We want to protect our water savings account as long as we can. And there are some threats to our aquifer system. One is population growth. More people are coming all the time. We need to be more conservative with how we utilize the resources that we have. Along with the population growth and development, we are getting more and more impermeable surfaces, not allowing the water to recharge back into the aquifer. And in developments, there are rules that you have to build drainage retention areas and work in areas in different housing developments where that water is allowed to seep back in the ground and recharge. There's climate change, there's sea level rise, pollution. When we allow stormwater runoff, now sometimes that happens in the rain, but if we add to it, then that water that is just traveling on an impermeable surface is going to pick up pollutants along its way before it empties into the nearest waterway. Saltwater intrusion is going to occur. We're surrounded by salt water. If we let that aquifer get too low, that's the kind of water that's going to intrude upon our aquifer. And also sinkhole formations. Some of those are natural, some of them are reactions to many things that are going on in the state. But what we're concerned about today is simply the grass in front of our house. How do we take care of it without overusing our water? So the first thing you need to ask is, what kind of lawn do I have? Because that does play an important role. You got to get to know your lawn. Not all turf is the same, believe it or not. They have different requirements. So what we're going to talk the most about today is a St. Augustine Floratam lawn. Floratam lawns are a variety of St. Augustine lawns, and they are the most prevalent type of lawn in homes in our communities in Hernando County and probably throughout Central Florida. So the question, of course, is how much water does my lawn need? In these hot, dry times, and our lawns are starting to look kind of, brown and thirsty, we may be tempted to think water is the answer, and we're just going to put down as much water as we can and hope for the best. But what happens is it doesn't always work that way. Our lawn, just like a vehicle, it has very specific needs. Of course, lawns need water, plants need water, but not near as much as the amount that we generally tend to give those lawns while we're just hoping for the best by throwing water at it. A lot of people say lawns are a waste of water. And I have yet to ever see a lawn that has crawled its way up to our irrigation system and turned it on. It's not the lawns that waste the water. The lawns use exactly the amount of water that they need to use. And it's we humans who waste the water by putting down too much or having the wrong plant in the wrong place. Some areas, lawns just aren't going to make it, and we might need to find different alternatives. So, St. Augustine lawns, according to the University of Florida, this is from Watering Your Florida Lawn, a publication by the University of Florida. A simple watering schedule would apply 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of water when the turf grass begins to show the drought stress symptoms discussed in the previous section. We haven't discussed those. We're going to in the next slide. Once this amount of water is applied, do not apply again until drought is noticeable. If it rains, suspend irrigation until visible drought stress symptoms appear. You notice nowhere in this paragraph does it say, put your lawns on a once a week schedule and water them no matter what. Irrigation was created to supplement natural rainfall. Somewhere along the line, I think it's because we as humans like to control things that are out of our control. The rain is out of our control, but this irrigation system isn't. So we have replaced those ideas, and we think of rain as supplementing our irrigation. And really it was created to be the other way around. Irrigation supplements natural rain. So how much water does your St. Augustine, your Floritam lawn require? It says right here, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. That also depends on your soil type. So if you are in Spring Hill and have very sandy soil, probably that 3/4 of an inch is what you want to go for. You're going to ask me, well, how long should I put on each zone to reach that 3/4 of an inch? And I'm going to tell you, I don't know, because it depends on varying factors, your water pressure, all sorts of factors, the types of irrigation heads that you have. Here's a very simple test that you can do, and I talk about this all of the time. On your watering day, and there's a reason I'm telling you to conduct this test on your watering day, and you'll find out later in the presentation. Collect some tuna fish cans, catfish cans, or cat food cans, something like that. Mark in there with a Sharpie 3/4 of an inch. Put cans randomly around your zone. They don't have to be as close together. This was for a photographic purpose that these were put this close together. And measure how long, or time how long it takes the cans to fill up to that mark you have put in there, which was 3/4 of an inch. So then you write that down. Zone 1 took 35 minutes. Maybe it took 20 minutes. It just depends on how long. And try to do that with each zone. Again, I suggest you do that maybe one evening after 6 on your watering day, or if you want to get up very early in the morning and also test it, during your watering day. And there's a reason I'm asking you to do that during your watering day. But when you have written that all down, then you go into your garage and you set your irrigation clock for the times that you have written down. That way, each zone is getting the amount of time that they need to reach that 3/4 of an inch. You can also find out that way if one of those cans is not getting any water at all, maybe you need to readjust your irrigation system and figure out why that area is being missed. Florida soils are typically very sandy. I'm sure you have noticed that. And they're going to hold 1 inch of water in the top 12 inches of soil. So if you put down an inch, you're going to reach 12 inches. That's beyond our root zones of most of our lawns. So that's why we say the 3/4 of an inch. If you have dry, sandy soil, 3/4 of an inch. So you'll get, roughly 8 inches, which would be perfect for your roots. What happens when people think, well, I want to water the same amount, but more frequently? They think that is a better answer. What light frequent watering does is encourage shallow root systems. If you watered a short amount of time, the water is only going to go down, a little ways in that sandy soil. Therefore, that's all the roots are going to grow. So watering only when your lawn needs it, and we're going to discuss that, and watering deeply to that only 3/4 of an inch is considered deeply, will be perfect for your root system. Teaches your roots to go down in search of water instead of it hanging around the top waiting for you to give it the water. It's just much more healthy for your lawn. When it discusses your lawn showing drought symptoms, This is basically two of the signs that we're looking for. And don't worry, when I say drought symptoms, it doesn't mean your lawn's in any danger. This just means it's telling you, hey, I'm a little thirsty. If the blades in more than 50% of your lawn start folding in half, such as shown in this picture here, it's trying to conserve some water, and therefore it's telling you, okay, when my next watering day comes around, if it hasn't rained, that 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch that I'm referring to is all that your lawn needs until the next watering. If nature provided that 3/4 of an inch, there's no need for your irrigation system to come on. One of the other signs that we tell you to look for is if you walk across your lawn and your footprints remain there for, a period of time. It means it's losing elasticity. The blades are becoming dehydrated. And again, not the time to panic. It's the time to say, oh, okay, if it doesn't rain before my next watering day, I will go ahead and let you get watered. Waiting for these signs will be healthier for your lawn, also healthier for your wallet, because you won't be paying us as much if nature is watering for you. But let's talk about an irrigation system. Not everyone has an irrigation system, but a whole lot of people in Florida do. Probably you moved here from up north and you might not have had one there. It's just a whole different climate. These are trying to grow a lawn in Florida is trying to accomplish something that's pretty unnatural. We don't have any meadows naturally in Florida, so you want to keep that in mind. You're trying to make something exist that naturally wouldn't be here. So if you have an irrigation system and you use it, we would encourage you to use it properly. And as I mentioned, please try and switch the mindset that we've all gotten that rain supplements irrigation systems. No, irrigation systems supplement natural rain. If you have an irrigation system, it is the law to have a rain sensor. You can have something similar to this that attaches to your roof. And what happens is you set it up here to tell it, oh, if my lawn has gotten 3/4 of an inch from natural rain, a cork in here swells up, sends a signal to the box inside the garage and tells it, don't turn on, we had enough rain. Now, you may want to go out if you haven't looked at your rain sensor in a long time. If a tree limb has grown over it, it's not going to work efficiently. If it is sideways or upside down due to squirrel activity or whatever, wind, storms, it's not going to work efficiently. If it's over 3 years old, you might want to check it out and make sure that it's working. They don't last forever. And this is Dr. Dukes from the University of Florida. He is demonstrating a soil moisture sensor. These are more expensive than these, but they're also about 400 times more efficient. You install them in the ground, and they have wireless ones now, so you don't need to worry about hooking up wires to your system. They have wireless systems, work on Wi-Fi. You want to mark where you buried it in the ground. You want to choose an area that is kind of representative of your lawn as a whole. You don't want a very wet area, and you don't want a very dry area, but one that's a composite of your whole lawn, and it will send a message to your system saying, the soil here is pretty dry, we're going to need some water. Or it'll send a message saying, no, we're doing just fine, we don't need any more water. These are very important tools in helping you save water. Now, I mentioned the times you are allowed to water in Hernando County on your watering day are before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m. And even though I mentioned you can do the test to see how many inches, each sprinkler is putting out after 6, because I just think you may be home in the evening doing that. But in general, the best time to have your irrigation system come on is in the early morning. So as close to that 8 a.m. for it to finish up as possible is best for the health of your lawn. It discourages water sitting all night on your lawn, which could end up encouraging fungus and other disease problems. So therefore, if per se your irrigation system is going to take 6 hours, have it set to start at maybe 1:30 in the morning and finish up at 7:30. Also, be really careful when the time changes, because you could get caught watering at 9 a.m. when your clock thought it was 8 a.m. And code enforcement doesn't really, if they catch you watering at the wrong time, you're going to get cited. Also, you want to make sure that you take care to look for any leaks. Some leaks are obvious, like this leak here. Some leaks underground you may not even see or notice. It may show up in your bill. It may show up, the meter man may come and check your meter and say, wow, it looks like water is flowing here, and there's no place to see it. Because some of these underground leaks, remember again, we're on very sandy soil, might just be being absorbed into the sand and we have no idea. So it's always good to have at least once a year a professional irrigation contractor come out and make sure everything is operating properly. But if you suspect a leak, if there's a kind of a wet, gushy area, or when you're out there testing it, you notice an obvious leak that looks like Old Faithful or something, it is well worth having an irrigation contractor come out. Here's what happens when you ignore leaks. This is a customer of Hernando County Utilities. What this means here is that in November of 2016, that customer used 13,200 gallons of water and paid us $29. In December, he used 9,200 gallons and paid us $20.29. January of 17 rolled around. He had an underground leak. He ended up using 218,000 gallons, 218,700 gallons of water. His bill was $2,606.76. Not something anyone ever wants to run across. Now, if this happens to you, unfortunately, I encourage you, if you are a Hernando County customer, to call customer service and talk about a one-time adjustment. There are very specific rules of whether or not you qualify, and customer service would be who you would speak to about that. The best thing to do is to avoid that situation altogether. You also want to look, I said, you look for broken, clogged, or misaligned heads. Are you watering your street? Are you watering your house? You know, that is a misuse of the water. Do you have head-to-head coverage? What I mean by that is this little graphic here shows that this sprinkler head is reaching all the way over to that sprinkler head and vice versa. This makes sure this entire area is completely covered and you don't have any dry spots that could cause problems later down the line. Now, why I mentioned that I would like you to do the catch can test on your watering day and times is because of this water management district rule right here. You may operate your sprinkler system for cleaning and maintenance purposes at any time with an attendant on site, that's you, no more than once a week, and the total runtime for each zone shall not exceed 10 minutes during the test. Therefore, it would be very hard to do that catch can test this way, but you can check for the broken or clogged heads, heads clogged with sand, make sure you're getting that head-to-head coverage. And, you know, if any of these things aren't happening, have someone come out and service your irrigation system for you. I promise you in the long run, it'll save you money to keep the system serviced. I've been getting a lot of phone calls, people upset. There have been sweeps going on, and people, mostly they're being warned, but they're upset about even being warned that they are not following the watering rules. Some of them are being cited. A lot of them are actually being cited. If you get caught watering at a time when you shouldn't be, you will be cited. If your lawn is emerald green when nobody else's is, you might get a warning. So what I try to bring home to people is we're panicking because it's so hot and dry. May is a hot and dry month. And we think the only answer every time our lawn looks in trouble, answer number one we want to do is water it more. And again, like I said, it's almost like a car. There's not one thing that'll fix what's wrong with your car. It's a complicated system. Your lawn is a complicated live system, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. We can break it down for you. So if it looks like it's in trouble, just watering it, you're not going to just water it back to life. There are lots of other issues. In fact, panicking and watering it more is probably going to exacerbate the problems that it already has. Mowing is a huge issue when it comes to lawns, as are our fertilization practices, possibly insects and diseases. So let's discuss those things. Let's break them down. I would venture to say how you mow your lawn is more important than how you water your lawn. You might find that pretty shocking, but it is absolutely true, because nature is going to water your lawn. It's going to get water. How you mow it is entirely up to the human that cares for the lawn. And when it comes down to it, we mow our lawns too low. These living organisms, these St. Augustine lawns, need to be 3.5 to 4 inches tall. Remember back to that picture of the roots that I showed you? It's not only watering infrequently but deeply that encourages a deep root system. It has a lot to do with the height of the blades of grass. If you have 4 inches blades, you're going to have 4 inches of roots or more. A taller blade encourages a healthier root system. St. Augustine Floritan lawns are created to be 3.5 to 4 inches. There's no getting around that. We want to mow it lower, as is shown here. Our companies want to mow it lower. That is not the best for the health of the lawn. I promise you, you start mowing it high, put the mower as high as it'll go, because it'll only really go up to about 4 inches. So make sure it's always as high as it'll go. And you will see a difference in your lawn over time if you let there be more surface area for to crowd out weeds and to photosynthesize. Also, the best rule of thumb is to mow it often enough that you're not removing more than 1/3 of the blade at a time. And you want to make sure that blade is very, very sharp. A dull blade tears. A sharp blade cuts. Much healthier. It is a plant, just like any other plant. A tree, we don't want to remove more than 1/3 at a time. And we certainly want to use sharp materials. The exact same thing happens with these blades of grass. I can't stress enough how important this is and how it'll turn your lawn around. Not if it's too far gone, but it really is very important, extremely important to the health of your lawn to mow it at least 3.5 to 4 inches. And when you're mowing, don't bag up those grass clippings. If you let them just go back to the lawn, they're going to provide a little mini fertilization each time you do that. Each of those blades has some nitrogen that you're returning back to the soil. This does not cause thatch. What causes thatch is the shallow, frequent watering, which creates a very shallow root system. And the runners in our Floratam lawns to start just growing over each other near the top, causing like thatch. Think of a thatch roof. That's what happens. Because they're almost a hydroponic lawn. They're looking for you to always provide the water instead of going into the soil and finding that moisture themselves. So the University of Florida states that if you don't bag up your grass clippings and you let them return to the lawn and to the soil, remember, we're going to try and only remove a third of the blade at a time, so they're not going to be too big or shade things out. You can actually skip one fertilization a year just by doing this cheap, easy, free thing to do. Speaking of fertilization, Hernando County does have a fertilizer ordinance. Many counties in Florida, I would say most, have some type of fertilizer ordinance. So please go check either your city or your county fertilizer ordinance. Make sure that you're following it. But just like watering, fertilizing doesn't have to be done because it's a certain time. Find out why. Does your lawn even need fertilized? The best way to do that is to obtain a soil test. You can call your county extension office, and I'll have the phone number for Hernando County's extension office in another slide. Ask them, how do I do a soil test from the University of Florida? Pretty easy to do from home now. You can download a form and send a bag of soil collected the way they tell you to the soils lab in Gainesville. You'll receive some results. Your county extension office receives a copy of those results, so you can call them and discuss together what they have found out. There's no need applying something that your lawn does not need. When it comes time to apply a fertilizer, follow the directions. It's not a recipe. It's not something you can change up according to your whim. It's the law, and it's scientifically based, written out that way. Avoid weed and feed products. Those products may work up north. They don't work out in Florida. The timing is wrong to try to do both of those things at the same time. Never works out with our weather and with many fertilizer ordinances. You need, if you're worried about weeds, you need to try and get them early in the spring, which is not the time when we're allowed to or should be fertilizing. Aside from that, weed and feed products can be very tricky. And we have seen many more disasters from people who have used weed and feed products than any kind of successes at all. And when it boils down to it, if for some reason you don't fertilize your lawn, I haven't fertilized mine in 10 years. That's about a secret, a little secret for you there. Say you skip a year, you don't fertilize. You know what will happen to your lawn? Nothing. You won't kill your lawn by not fertilizing it. It is possible that you would kill it by inappropriately fertilizing or using the weed and feed or putting down too much that would encourage feeding of a fungal disease that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So with fertilization, you do have to do it appropriately and follow the rules exactly, but also find out if it's even necessary. Here is Hernando County's fertilizer ordinance. January 1st through March 31st, homeowners are not allowed to fertilize their lawns. There are other rules, year-round compliance written here. You don't need to fertilize anything, any new turf or plants for the first 30 days. Don't put down fertilizer if we're expecting a heavy rain. Watch the weather. Don't fertilize within 10 feet of a body of water. And if you have a spill on your sidewalk or the street, immediately sweep that up. And the same with pet waste, plant debris, gasoline. Do not hose any of that down. Now, it is being discussed that this may be being changed in Hernando County. So keep up with, what's going on in your county. As soon as if there are changes made to this, I'll be one of the first to let you know. I'll have a program about it. Let me warn you, it's not going to get less strict. The changes that are coming are probably more strict than what we have here. Let's talk a little bit about insects. That's after we have a problem with our lawn and we think, well, let me water it. I'll just keep watering it, it'll get better. Well, it didn't get better, so I'll fertilize it. I'll just keep fertilizing it, it'll get better. Well, no, it didn't get better. Must be bugs. That's how our thought processes go. And we really need to find out before we treat for an insect, if there's even an insect problem. With your own health, you don't want to just go in and say, just give me anything, it'll fix it. You want to know what's wrong with your body so that you know how to properly fix it. Same goes with your lawn. Just because you see bugs doesn't mean they're there causing trouble. 1% of the insects in the world are pests. I'd be thrilled if you saw bugs, because unfortunately our master gardeners, when people bring in lawn samples, are seeing less and less and less living things inside of those lawns, which is pretty distressing in itself. Your lawn company or your neighbor or your barber or somebody may tell you you have chinch bugs. These are what chinch bugs look like. They used to be a big problem in Floritan. They're in St. Augustine lawns in general. Floritan was actually developed to be resistant to chinch bugs in 1973. Probably way by 1980, it was no longer resistant to chinch bugs. But you know what? That's ancient history, because anecdotally, I have not spoken to anybody in Central Florida involved in an extension office who has seen a chinch bug in 3 or 4 years. So, and like I said, one of the master gardeners told me he's not seeing any living thing in our turf samples. So, chinch bugs, it appears that they're not a problem anymore. You may have some. And also, to determine if you have a chinch bug problem, there is you need to have more than a certain amount per square foot to determine if it's even a problem. Like I said, our master gardeners haven't seen chinch bugs, but yet we're in the habit of thinking if something's wrong with our lawn, it has to be chinch bugs and it should be treated for chinch bugs. If you have a lawn service telling you that, tell them to show you a chinch bug, because them standing on their feet, there's no way to tell if you have a chinch bug problem without getting down and really, getting on the ground and really looking in there. So where you do have problems, maybe you have fire ants, nobody wants that. Spot treat where you have those issues. We've gotten in the habit of broadcast treating entire lawns, which is one of the reasons that I think that there's less and less living things in there. 99% of the insects out there are either beneficial, helping us out, or they're benign. They're just not doing anything. What they are doing is providing a food source for the other little critters that we do want, such as maybe for lizards, and then the birds eat the lizards and on up the food chain. We need these things. Killing them all off is not the answer. We would like you to use integrated pest management. A lot of professionals use this, and it's a system where, like a pyramid, where the first thing you do, the widest thing on the bottom of the pyramid is prevention. And you move on up the pyramid. You can look that up, integrated pest management, to where the very last thing you do is pick up a chemical. And please don't do that without doing your research to find out, make sure you get the right product for the right problem. Or is it even an insect problem? That's one of the first places that you start. Disease. Look at this lawn up here in the right corner. Can anybody tell me what's wrong with it? Does it need more water? Should we fertilize there? Oh, it must be insects then. Actually, there's no real way to look at that and know. It could be many things. But if you have a lawn that looks like this, it also could be take all root rot. That is a fungus that is extremely prevalent in all of Central Florida, Floritam lawns. So what you could do is take a lawn sample. This is our local extension office in Hernando County, 16110 Aviation Loop Drive. Here's their phone number, 352-754-4433. If you take them a sample, say half good, half bad, 8x8, 12x12 sample, take that in, they'll pull it out. And if the roots look like this, they can see the fungus fruiting bodies through a microscope. They're really, really good at diagnosing this take-all root rot because they see it all the time. Far more often than they would ever see a chinch bug. Could also be a different fungal. There's more than take-all root rot out there. There's gray leaf spot, which really isn't all that common, but there's several types. Take-all root rot is exceedingly common. So don't be surprised if you take it in and they tell you that's what you have. They will give you management tools. You're not going to get rid of it. It's in the soil. And St. Augustine grass succumbs to it. There are management tools, if it hasn't gotten too far, that will help you with this. And most of those management tools include watering and fertilizing less because you are watering and fertilizing the fungus and exasperating your own problem. And there are fungicides they will tell you about that you can apply, but just remember fungicides prevent, they don't cure. So my advice is, don't wait until your entire lawn looks brown and dead like this. You start getting some spots, take it into the extension office. It's free. If they can't diagnose it, they may send it to the lab in Gainesville for somewhat of a cost, $40, something like that, to find out what is wrong with your lawn and how you can manage it. The problem is, as I said, take-all root rots in our soil. You replace your St. Augustine lawn with a St. Augustine lawn, it's going to end up with the same issue. And no, you can't just replace the type of soil because any new soil you put in, the conditions exist for it to grow in there. So my advice would be is before you go thinking my lawn just needs watered more, it just needs fertilized more, it needs to be treated for insects. Before you do any of that, take that sample into the extension office, find out if you have this fungus and how you can manage it. That would be the first step. Now, if you don't have St. Augustine grass here in Central Florida, you very well may have Bahia grass. Those are the only two lawns I'm going to talk about because they are the most prevalent. Many of you, like me, might have a combination. I have Bahia/weeds and other things that have gone in there. Bahia grass can survive on natural rainfall. It'll turn brown, hay colored. It'll be really crunchy when you walk on it and you'll think, oh, I may have actually killed it now. No, when the rain comes, you can stand there and watch it turn green before your eyes. That's one of the really good things about Bahia. You can keep it on an irrigation system and follow those same rules that you did for Floritam. Wait till it shows those signs of folding blades or leaving footprints. Before you water, go ahead and give it the half an inch. It'll be all right. It's very important that you mow Bahia high also as well, probably closer to that 4 inches. Sharp blades, you're going to have to sharpen them all the time. Bahia is a pretty tough grass, so it is hard on blades. You can fertilize if you want to, once or twice a year. Overseeding with more Bahia is every so often, every other year or so is not a bad idea. Just understand that you won't qualify for a variance on watering that overseeding in. So, I'm making it sound like the perfect grass. Why don't people have it? For one thing, they hate these seed heads that I'm showing you here. Those pop up after you mow it. They're 3 feet tall. People aren't happy with that. And that if you let it be there long enough, those are viable seeds there. Another thing is it's kind of a lighter green, and mostly it has a open growth habit. It grows more in clumps, whereas Floritan grows in runners and spreads better. So this growing in clumps creates these open areas where weeds can encroach. So those are the reasons some people would rather not have Bahia. But if those issues are all fine with you, it is probably the least maintenance long grass that we can have here. If you are going to have issues with Bahia grass, it's going to be because you watered it too much, or you fertilized it too much, or your pH is just too high. That's one thing Bahia grass struggles with. If your pH starts getting really pretty high, you're not going to have Bahia grass. It's just not going to be happy. If you're in a high pH area, then Bahia grass is going to be, pretty sad. It's not going to like it much above 6.8 probably. And that's another reason to get one of those soil tests to find that out. Or not enough sun. All lawns here need 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day, especially Bahia. There's no shade tolerant turf. St. Augustine can withstand more shade than Bahia can, but none of them are made to be shade plants. Bahia and shade just don't work out well at all, probably closer to that 8 hours of sun. So those are the issues with Bahia. There are 2 different types you can get, Argentine or Pensacola. Pensacola is what you see on the roadsides, just has more seed heads. Argentine has less and has fewer seed heads, and they don't grow as tall. So it's usually preferable for a lawn. And how I try to remember the 2 is A. You want an A+ lawn, A for Argentine. Here's a kind of a new practice going around that you might want to consider. And that is adding compost to your lawns. It has been shown to be very helpful for the nutrient and water holding capacity of our sandy soil. So these gentlemen here were involved in certain developments, I think on Top of the World, a few other places where new sod was put down, and they put down this compost product first. This particular product, I believe, is called Command. That's the brand name with 1 M in the middle. They put it down and then put down the new sod. And they have found a lot of success with the new sod being put over this composted material. Now here in our sandy soils, things are going to go through them pretty quickly. So the answer to that is, after this has been down with new sod about 3 years, you want to start a program of every year top dressing. That just means sprinkling around like you would fertilizer the compost over your lawn. It's also beneficial to do that with an existing lawn that maybe you doesn't have this layer under it, but it never hurts to start doing that top dressing routine. And because it is not a fertilizer, it is just compost, it is not subject to the Fertilizer Ordinance. Something to really consider, finding a company or looking up Command with 1 M and finding out how you can get it. and adding that compost to your soil. One of the other things that compost in general does, they have done some research to find out when they put it around citrus trees, the citrus trees have less problems with citrus greening, to where at least the fruit can be juiceable. So you take that same practice with this compost and put it on your lawn, it will also slow down the instances of the fungus take-all root rot. Possibly. It's not a magic bullet. I'm not saying it will cure it, but it is certainly a environmentally friendly way to help your soil be healthier and help it retain some water as well. Now, the other areas of your landscape. First of all, if you have an established landscape that's been there more than 2 years, your shrubs and trees don't even want to be on an irrigation system. They're going to last a lot longer if you just let them thrive on natural rainfall. If they start looking a little dry, you can hand water, once in a while. But if you do want an irrigation system, we would suggest a micro irrigation system, a drip irrigation system, something shown here that is not the same system that's going on your turf. And also, before you worry about watering them, a lot of plants like impatiens, azaleas, things like that, when it gets hot and dry, they're going to look like they're about to die every afternoon. Wait until morning for all of your plants, because you might just be viewing heat stress. See what they look like in the morning to find out if they're actually thirsty or if they are just responding to heat stress. I stress this because I don't want you to overwater them and cause problems. If it's getting to be like a long time and we haven't had a good amount of rain, that's when you want to hone down the priority areas, the areas of visual importance, or maybe it's some emotional importance for you. Pay attention to those plants, keep those watered, and maybe let the others kind of try and make it on their own, and until the hot, dry time is over. And again, think about that micro irrigation for those landscape beds. Mulch is very important. It helps our yards look nice. It also helps hold in some moisture, but you want to be careful because you want to pull it away from the base of the plants for several reasons. One thing, if it's too wet, it's going to be holding the moisture onto those trunks and possibly causing fungal problems. Another thing is, if it's been really dry and the mulch dries out and then it receives some kind of water, the mulch is going to suck up all the water instead of it getting to the roots of the plants. So it does help hold the moisture in the soil, but you got to be careful that it doesn't act like a sponge. So what I would do is pull it away several inches from the base of each plant so that the water can get in and actually water that plant. During hot, dry times is a great time to remove weeds. Looks like this bed is almost nothing but weeds, but weeds are competition for the water. So it's a good time to get them out of there. There are many ways that you can recycle whatever water nature brings you, such as through the rains, or other ways of recycling water. If you're worried about your plant beds, things like that, one old-fashioned way is just bring a bucket with you in the shower. It's going to collect water that otherwise would have gone down the drain. Use that each time you shower. Go out and water some of your bedding plants with that water. When you're cooking, if you made some vegetables or even noodles, something like that, let that water cool. Step outside and put it, in your front beds. Nice, easy way to give them some water. Florida Friendly Landscaping always encourages reducing impervious surfaces, having as many surfaces that allow water to seep through in your landscape as possible. For your walkways, you might want to consider gravel or shells or mulch, something that allows the water to go through instead of running off. Also, downspouts. I think we've been kind of taught to make them go down the street, but in Florida, we have very porous soil. We don't have cellars. The best thing you can do is take that water, and as you see here, it's kind of landing so it doesn't cause a rut, and let it go into your lawn, plant bed, something like that. Any water that nature gives you, we are actually encouraging you to hoard it and save it and have it go back into our water savings account, which is the aquifer, instead of it running off, going down the street, picking up pollutants, causing all sorts of problems. We have rain barrel workshops every month. You can get a rain barrel very similar to these for $50. If you are a customer of Hernando County Utilities, you will receive a one-time credit of $25 on your water bill for attending a workshop and installing a rain barrel at your house, just one time. So this was a couple who came, therefore they were able to purchase 2 rain barrels. I need a person to come to the workshop for every rain barrel that you purchase, but only one of them got that $25 credit. As I said, we hold these every month. We're doing virtual. We're actually doing in-person outside workshops at the beautiful Chinsegat Conservation Center early in the morning because it's getting hot. They look very similar to these. And I have found our exact same rain barrels at a big box store. In fact, because Facebook follows your algorithms, they advertise to me on my Facebook page rain barrels, the exact same rain barrels that we make available for $50. They are advertising for $148. So, you can get them from a retail and not have to listen to my program, but it'll cost you $100 more. So, it depends on what your priorities are. Basically, if you are interested in a rain barrel and you live in Hernando County or close, reasonably close to Hernando County, email me. That starts the process. So I can send you all the details and get you registered. So email me at Lilly with 2 L's in the middle, LILLYB at hernandocounty.us. Rain gardens, there's whole classes we have on that that tells you basically how to create little mini aquifer recharge gardens, is what I call them, in your yard. When it's hot and dry, there's some things you want to avoid doing in your yard. And basically it's anything that's going to promote new growth, because all your plants, including your lawns, are working on just, staying static, staying alive. So pumping out new growth is very stressful to them. So things such as pruning and fertilizing, which encourages new growth, is something you want to avoid when it's so hot and dry. And really installing any kind of new plant material, if you can at all avoid it, now's not the time to do it. And you may think this is a great time to buy natives and drought tolerant plants. I encourage you, please buy native and drought tolerant plants when the rainy season starts, because all plants need extra water to be established. Even natives, even drought tolerant, to be established, they need that extra water. And it's very stressful to be newly planted in the hot and dry times. Now, you may say, I don't have a choice. My HOA is saying I got to put down new sod because my sod's not in great shape. Anytime that you are applying new sod and you live in Hernando County, and I do mean sod in 50% or more of your lawn, you qualify for this variance to the 1 day a week watering. And this is the rules. It's also what is best for your new sod if you follow these, and it's also what is best for your wallet. So if you're getting new sod, whatever the sod guy tells you, unfortunately, just go la, 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 la. Yeah, okay. Because unfortunately, every time I hear about them, I hear they're saying, well, we're just going to set your system at an hour each zone. This sod has new sod has no roots. You're wasting water and you're wasting a whole lot of money and you're doing nothing good for that new lawn. So please, again, email me, LillyB, LILLYB at hernandocounty.us, and I'll be glad to send you these rules in writing. Do that as soon or before you get your new sod so that you are staying in compliance with the ordinance, you're doing what is best for the health of that new sod, and you're not driving your water bill up to rates that you don't want to see. What about seed? I got a lot of people calling me that my HOA was after me and now I can't afford the new sod, so I'm going to have to reseed. Here are the rules from the Water Management District regarding reseeding. Your lawn has to be nothing. You have to have taken everything out of it, just bare dirt and 50% or more for seed to qualify for this new lawn variance. So overseeding, even if there's just patches of weeds, overseeding does not qualify for any additional watering. So you want to keep that in mind. You can't put on your irrigation system for overseeding or trying to renovate your lawn with seeds. Here are some resources for you where I got a lot of this information and also to help you further your knowledge. Watering Your Florida Lawn is a publication by the University of Florida, as is Take All Root Rot. Learn all about that. Also, University of Florida website here for improving your lawn's drought tolerance. And here's a fun semi-new tool for you. It's a web tool. You can use it like an app on your phone, except it's not an app. You can pull it up, on the internet on your phone, and it is like the Florida friendly plant guide, only you have it on your phone and you can narrow it down even to like your zip code or color or style of plants to see what you're looking for. It's a really very handy tool at ffl.ifas.ufl.edu/plants. If you would like a PDF copy of this pre-recorded program, again, please email me, LillyB at hernandocounty.us. And I'll be glad and say that class about lawns when it's hot and dry, please send me a PDF and I'll be glad to do that. Here are some other resources. I do have a Facebook page that lists all of our classes and recordings of our classes. The Extension Office has a very helpful and informative Facebook page. And all of my videos can be found on Hernando County Government YouTube. So if you have someone that says, not doing Facebook, don't like Facebook, seems like almost everybody will watch YouTube. So send them there. And also, that is where my videos are closed captioned as well. So if you have somebody who's in need of that, please send them. Just go to Hernando County Government YouTube and look for the Florida Friendly Landscaping playlist. And be patient. In about 6 weeks, the rains are going to start. This is the beginning of May here. Mid-June, there was a time I would tell you June 11th, 4 o'clock. I can't be that confident anymore because weather seems to have changed. But mid-June, our afternoon rains, they're going to have to come. It just happens. The breezes from both coasts and then the temperature, when all those things collide together, boom, it starts our afternoon showers. And again, when they do start, get yourself a rain gauge. If you're getting that 1/2 inch, turn that irrigation system off. Or if you're getting that 3/4 of an inch. Again, here is my information. And I hope this information was helpful to you. And we will see you at our next program.